Hey class, hope everybody's doing well. The reading thus far for this week has been very entertaining and honestly super insightful. And today specifically in our second discussion question, in our first video post to the class, we are talking about the early church fathers. And our first question is, discuss how these church fathers provided the basis for Catholic Christianity's development. And then the second being, engage with the term Catholic, especially as it was first used in the early 2nd century with Bishop Ingus, who and I think I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know, who said, wherever Jesus Christ is, there is a Catholic. Wherever Jesus Christ is, there is the Catholic Church. There it is. And discuss whether you think this was properly interpreting Jesus' teaching. And to begin with our first question, kind of what is the foundation of the Catholic Church and Christianity's development? And I found this extremely interesting as we were reading. Shelley says this: a number of Christian writers arose to defend the Christian faith against the rumors and railings of the pagans. We call these writers apologists. And because I've taken an apologetic class, this is just, again, super interesting to kind of understand the background and the history behind some of the classes that we have taken here at ACU, and to understand the foundations of those classes has been really, really cool. And to address our question today in our post is, what did these church fathers do, these early church fathers do? It's important to understand this, to understand why we do the things that we do as people who are attending Bible college and learning apologetics and learning about systematic theology and where these things came from. And Shelley, again, is just talking about some of these really key influential figures, and I want to highlight two of them. There are a lot of them, and it's again, really cool to see how many people in the early days of Christianity, in the early days of the church, were beginning to kind of hop on board and devote their lives to the work of building the church. But the two that I want to address, first one being Tertullian, who is deemed the father of Latin theology. And he kind of was converted to Christianity again early and decided to devote his life to Christianity. And these people who I'm talking about, and the people I'm not even mentioning, but in our text, are these kind of powerhouses of their time when it comes to thinking and philosophy. And so to hear that they are converting to Christianity and devoting their lives to Christianity, these powerful minds are devoting their lives to Christianity, is honestly really inspiring and tells us a lot about just the validity of Christianity. Now, I know that and believe, and I have faith that Christianity is correct and right, or whatever term that you want to use. And to hear that these powerhouses in the minds in their day are converting their lives and devoting their lives to Christianity, again, is super inspiring and kind of reassuring in a sense. But back to Tertullian, sorry, lots of difficult names. But essentially what he did, his work, his life's work, is he underlined the legal and moral absurdity of the persecution directed against Christians. And then in some of his other books, he offered encouragement to those who were facing martyrdom. He attacked heretics, explained the Lord's Prayer and the meaning of baptism, and helped develop the orthodox understanding of the Trinity. And again, these 3 or 4 things are just so huge and fundamental to who we are as Christians today. And again, lay the foundation for a lot of us here at ACU and whoever else is attending Bible college who are, again, studying apologetics or studying systematic theology, and these very core foundational things to who we are as followers of Jesus. These are the church fathers who are kind of the front runners of this, the people who are establishing this for us today in 2024. And again, to think about that is just awesome. And then the second guy I wanted to kind of highlight is Prytanis, who really kind of was, and from what I'm reading in our textbook, it seems like Prytanis was almost one of the first Bible college teachers or Bible school teachers. He was teaching Christians in Alexandria, and despite the persecution that was going on around him, he continued to make this a priority in his life, and he saw the importance of this and what it was doing to the church, that it was strengthening the faith of Christians and attracting these new converts to faith, again, laying the sturdy foundation that the church has been built on. And these two figures, along with all the others who were mentioned in our text and not mentioned. Again, the work that they did, the writing that they produced are just so foundational to who we are today as the church. And it's so important to acknowledge and understand the work that they did, so that we have a better understanding as for us today who get to live in my case, Arizona, and for a lot of us here, we get to live in Arizona in the United States, and we go to church every single Sunday. And it's just kind of turned into this thing that we do. But to understand that these guys way back in the second century, and and it says that Pertanius was working around 185 AD. These guys way long ago were laying this foundation in a much more harsh and critical and honestly dangerous environment to provide the church for us today in 2024. And I think that's just such a cool and important thing for us to understand as church leaders, as people who follow Jesus and want to spread his word. This is crucial for us to understand kind of our roots and where we come from. And to address our second question, talking about this quote from, again, I really hope I'm saying this right, but in Enitis, I'm going to go with Enitis. Enitis, who says, he says this, that, where are we at? There we are. Wherever Jesus Christ is, there is the Catholic Church. These are the words that Enitis said when he first spoke about, and Ignatius being the first person to use this word Catholic. And again, to kind of highlight and understand what the word Catholic means, let's first start there before we get into the quote. To understand and engage with this term Catholic, in our reading it says that we confess faith in the Holy Catholic Church. This is what this period gave us. Catholic, meaning universal Christianity. It was more than an organization. It was a spiritual vision, a conviction that all Christians should be one body. This really stood out to me, and in terms of this quote that we hear from Ignatius, because I think when we first hear this quote, whenever Jesus Christ is, wherever Jesus Christ is, there is the Catholic Church. I think for us today, again, in 2024, in our context, where we know that Catholicism, the Catholic Church, is a separate branch of Christianity, and that there are all these different branches now, this quote, in all honesty, it seems a little arrogant, right? Like, it seems that Ignatius is thinking that this is the only way that a person can reach Jesus. This is the only religion that a person can to reach Jesus in. But again, when we have to look at this in his lens, through his context, and understanding that the term Catholic, meaning universal, this was the religion. This was the only one that was there. It was the only kind of branch that was there. And there were different, even during this day, I think there were still different branches, but this was kind of the one that was catching fire, and in all honesty seemed to be the one that was the most true and accurate to the biblical words and the biblical story. So to hear him say this, again, it can be very off-putting at first, but I think that what he is saying is that in his time, wherever Jesus Christ is, that is where the church is. And I think for us, when we take away that word Catholic and replace that with Jesus Christ, with there being the universal church, that is a very true statement. It should be a very true statement that the church is not a building, the church is not just a place or a location, but the church is where Jesus is. And that can happen wherever. And for what I'm assuming for these early church fathers is that this was happening wherever. This was happening on random street corners and in different meetings and in different halls, different temples, wherever they were, wherever Jesus was, that was where the church was. And it wasn't the building that we know today in the crazy elaborate architectural design buildings, but it was solely about where the Holy Spirit was, where Jesus was. And I think that's what Enitis is trying to get to here, is that the church is Jesus. The foundation of the church is and will always be Jesus. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to, again, reflect back on and to be reminded of. And knowing that when he says this quote, this is happening what appears to be in the 2nd century, and that this term Catholic, it's not the Catholic that we know today, the separate or the branch of Christianity that we know today, but it's this word that means universal. It's the universal church. It's universal Christianity. It's the idea of us being one body together, all focused on Jesus. And I think that's just beautiful. So those are my thoughts. I'm excited to hear what everybody else has to say, and hope everybody is doing well in the beginning of the new year. See you guys later.